club won a trophy for the first time in 11 years. They ended Juventus's reign of terror because they had Juventus 9 straight Scudetti before Inter secured it this past weekend, and they secured it with 4 games to spare. So for the next 4 weekends, I'm just going to be able to kick my feet up and enjoy these games, knowing that all you're playing for is pride. Championship is already secured. We've got Sampdoria this weekend. I hope we kick their asses. Juventus the following weekend. God, I hope we humiliate them. I think we might take it a little bit easy on Sampdoria because, that team's locked in mid-table. They've got nothing to play for. Inter have nothing to play for after having secured the championship. But Juventus, I want to say that game is, what would a week from Sunday be? It's like May 16th or something. Yeah, I get the thumbs up from Alex. May 16th is when Inter have their next head-to-head with Juventus. Now, Inter technically have nothing to play for. Juventus will have something to play for because they're in danger of missing out on Champions League, which has not happened to them in a decade now. They are in danger of even qualifying for Champions League if they don't finish top 4. So I'm hoping with the whole rivalry, because Inter and Juventus, they hate each other. They have for a century. So I'm hoping with the whole rivalry that Inter will, even though they may rest some guys this weekend with nothing to play for against an irrelevant opponent, I'm hoping the following week against Juventus, they start the best 11 and give them hell. Because knocking them out potentially of Champions League would be unfreaking believable. So I'm still doing great. I'm on my Scudetto tour. I'm still celebrating. I'm going to be obnoxious for like the next year, basically, because and you know what? If Inter can repeat and win again next May, I'm going to be obnoxious for a whole nother year. Like I have told friends of mine who asked me, hey, Donno, what's an appropriate amount of time to celebrate a Scudetto? Like a month, a week, a day and a half? And I said, honestly, I'm going to celebrate the championship until another champion is officially crowned. So for as long as that reign lasts, I'm going to be super cocky. I'm going to be super celebratory. I'm going to be super obnoxious. I'm going to be even better looking than I usually am because there is a post-Scudetto glow that really does wonders for my eyes and for my complexion. So I'm going to be in a great, great mood for a long-ass time. I am watching soccer here on the show. I'm just flipping. I've got the stream on the old Paramount Plus of Chelsea against Real Madrid. This is a big game. Final leg of the semifinal for them in Champions League. The winner is going to advance to face Manchester City in the final. I know I'm going to insult the American soccer bros who love Christian Pulisic. I'm actually going for Real Madrid in this game. Now, I know that obviously their fan base is super spoiled. They've won 13 Champions League, including 3 in a row very recently, up until a couple of years ago. So I know that their fan base is very spoiled and all that, and, get some new blood in there with Chelsea. I don't want an all-English final. I don't. Premier League fans are cocky enough as it is. You've already got the oil money Manchester City in the Champions League final. They officially advanced yesterday with another victory over PSG. I do not want the annoying-ass Premier League fans talking about how their league is the only one that matters and every other league in Europe is a farmers' league. I don't want that horse shit again in my life like we had a couple of years ago when we had an all-English final. So it's the only thing that can save me from that, ironically enough, sometimes your enemy becomes your friend. Like when you can align your interests with that of your enemy, then your enemy can temporarily become your friend. I've got no love lost for Real Madrid, but I actually would prefer Real Madrid to be the other team that gets into the Champions League final to at least mix it up. I'd rather have an English team versus a Spanish team than a couple of different English teams. Plus, being real here, as much as I love this country, the over-the-top love for Christian Pulisic gets a little bit annoying. I root for the guy when he puts on the U.S. national team shirt, right? Red-blooded, hot-blooded American. I root for the guy when he puts on the U.S. men's national team shirt, but I'm not one of these bandwagon clowns that pretends to be a Chelsea fan. Like all of a sudden, I'm a lifelong Chelsea fan, bro. How long have you been a Chelsea fan? Well, since the day that Pulisic signed with Chelsea, of course. I'm not one of these I don't pick my clubs based on players, okay? So, yeah, I want Pulisic to be awesome when he puts on the U.S. men's national team shirt. I'm not going to pretend to be a Chelsea fan just because he plays for Chelsea. So I would like to see a Spanish versus English final instead of the all-English final. By the way, you can text the show. We're on with you for the next 3 hours until 6 o'clock here tonight. You can text us at 844-416-8123. That's 844-416-8123. Are we live and operational on YouTube? Yeah, I'm getting a thumbs up. So I'm going to log on there in a moment because I always like to be very active in the YouTube live chat. So we're live now on YouTube. Oh, I'm seeing it. It's beautiful. Man of the Match is on live. So if you haven't watched us before on YouTube, open up your YouTube app or go to youtube.com and search for Onside Radio. Subscribe to our channel, and when you get in to watch live, make sure you smash the heck out of that like button. I just liked it myself. Ooh, and I'm actually logged in through my other account. I'm logged in through my Calcio Connection account. I'm going to switch to Alex Donno so that people actually know who I am when I'm in the chat room. So there we go. The YouTube live feature is going. I see Joseph Rodriguez is in there. What's cracking, Donno? What's cracking on you, Joseph? Welcome. Ian from Brooklyn is in the house. What's up, Ian? So everybody, make sure you smash the like button. You know, a few days ago, I think it was around draft time when we had our draft party, Onside Radio eclipsed the 500 subscribers mark. The big benchmark we're trying to get to is 1,000. We've only been at this for about 2 months on YouTube, so we're trying to crack 1,000 subscribers. So, you know, for anyone who's watching us, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe to our channel and tell your friends. Because the big thing is, for those of you who love live, local sports talk, you're not getting a whole lot of that in this market anywhere outside of OnsideRadio.com. You're getting a lot of Mike Greenberg. You're getting a lot of national clowns getting piped in through satellites that don't share your interests in the South Florida teams. We are live and local every single day here on Onside Radio, and there are a number of different ways to get the shows. Of course, if you can't watch us on YouTube, you can listen to us on our website and a bunch of different mobile apps. But make sure you spread the word. If you have South Florida sports fans in your life, make sure you let them know about Onside Radio. In fact, an acquaintance of mine, not a close friend, because if it was a close friend, he would have known about this already, but an acquaintance of mine who I've known through the sports landscape, through the Miami Hurricanes for a number of years, just texted me out of the blue today. I hadn't even exchanged texts with this guy for a couple of years, and he texted me out of the blue and said, hey, I just found out this morning about Onside Radio. I'm catching up with everything you guys are doing. I love what you're doing. I love the local sports talk, and I'm now a fan of you guys. So I thought that was really great because it sometimes surprises me. I think we take for granted the idea that not every one of our prospective listeners are so dialed in to my life, Big O's life, Toast's life, Kai, everyone else, that even though Onside Radio has been on the air now for a little over 6 months, 6 months and about a half a week we've been on, 6 months and a week maybe, that, yeah, like not everybody is so dialed in to me and O and everyone on social media, that there are still some people out there, even though we've been on the air now for 6 months, you might not yet know what we're doing and the operation we have going on here. So if you have the opportunity to spread the love of Onside Radio to someone in your life who may not have heard of us and would really appreciate what we do here, please do that, because if the station can grow, then we only make things better for you, the listener. We can provide more content and even better content to you guys if you help us grow and spread the word. So hello to Gus. Hello to Rafa in Miami. Joseph says, love the YouTube streams. Omar, Donno, and Big O, my guys for Fins Talk. I'm out here in Cali. Yes, I love that as well because, we cater, of course, to South Florida, but not everybody who loves South Florida sports lives in South Florida. We got great listeners in Cali. We got great listeners in New England. I know a couple of bros in Canada who listen to us. I think, Alex, I may have almost lost a couple of Canadian listeners because do you remember it was either Monday or yesterday when I really went in and trashed Canada. Like I basically called it a third world country. I called it, an America wannabe. I really said some unkind things about Canada. But here's the magical thing about it. Even though I slandered their country, Canadians are so nice, they forgave me. So I slandered their country. I made them feel terrible. I actually, for the Canadians who were listening, when I slandered their country, they were actually looking into what it would take to become an American citizen, because they said, maybe this Donno is onto something. Maybe my country is second rate compared to our neighbors to the south. So they looked into what it would take to become citizens, and apparently they didn't meet the cut, so they're stuck in Canada. But we love Canada as well. Canada seems like not such a bad place. The weather sucks up there, but we love our Canadian listeners, and we especially love our Canadian listeners who support South Florida sports as well. Oh, tough L for the Miami Heat last night. I should be getting used to this. I know that they were on a bit of a hot streak before yesterday. I'm starting to miss the Florida Panthers. I'm getting Panther withdrawals. We can't watch the Panthers again until Saturday, my friends. But the Jimmy Butler-less Miami Heat fell to the Dallas Mavericks 127-113 last night. Jimmy Butler had a bit of a bug. I mean, you hear about so many NBA players. It's affected some Miami Heat guys recently. Like, thankfully, it's not a COVID outbreak. Honestly, I think most of the Heat players have had COVID by now, because they don't release all the individual names of who had it and who didn't. But we've had so many guys who, in the earlier part of the season, had to miss time due to contact tracing and the health and safety protocols that probably most of our guys, even the ones who haven't been vaccinated, have probably actually had it by now and probably have some antibodies to it. So Jimmy Butler was out last night, and they really could have used his spark. I mean, Miami got off to a really nice start in the game. Trevor Ariza hit his first two shots, and they were both three-pointers. And you're like, okay, so this is how it's going to go tonight. And then in the second half, you know who stepped up for Dallas? And this hurt me, okay? Timmy Hardaway Jr. Tim Hardaway Jr., who was playing under the banner of his father's jersey, number 10, that hangs in the rafters of, are we calling it FTX Arena yet, or is it still the American Airlines Arena? Whatever the heck that building is in downtown Miami. Tim Hardaway Sr.'s jersey hangs from the rafters, and Tim Hardaway Jr. was trolling us last night. He hits 10 three-pointers yesterday, Timmy Jr. I mean, I guess leave it to a member of the Hardaway family to step up big under the lights at the American Airlines Arena. So, and unfortunately, the Heat didn't have that answer, because when Jimmy Butler is away, that's supposed to be when Bam Adebayo plays, okay? And Adebayo did get a career-high 11 assists last night. He did almost get a triple-double, but the problem, my friends, is that Adebayo could only muster 11 points last night. It's not good enough. 11 points last night for Bam Adebayo. Too passive. Let me get to today's roundtable topic, all right? Because it's Bam Adebayo related. Wednesday's roundtable. And you know how it goes. All the hosts weigh in on the roundtable topic, and then our guy Alex Aguirre makes a master cut at the end of the evening. With Jimmy Butler out last night, how disappointed are you that Bam didn't step up more, producing just 11 points on 4 for 10 shooting? This season, Alexander Barkov with the Panthers finally figured out how to be more selfish and lead by scoring more. Will Bam ever figure it out? It hasn't been Bam's identity to this point. Bam Adebayo has been more of a wingman. He's been more of the Chris Bosh, right? You remember what Chris Bosh was to the big three? He was the glue guy. He was the complimentary guy. He was the guy who floor spaced, filled up the box score, but he didn't go into Terminator mode, right? I mean, and Chris Bosh is one of my favorite Heat players ever, so I'm not dissing him. But unfortunately, I think Bam Adebayo is closer to being the Chris Bosh type than he is to the Dwayne Wade or Jimmy Butler type, that he's not going to go full Terminator mode and take over games, that he's better when he's feeding off of Jimmy Butler or he's feeding off of number one. He's a little bit more of the Batman to the Robin. That's just who Bam Adebayo is. And still, though, that's all fine and good when Jimmy plays. When Jimmy doesn't play, Adebayo needs to realize this is your show now. When Jimmy Butler is out of the lineup, I'd much rather you score 35 points than assist 11 times. Like, you have to be more selfish. You have to be more selfish. When you're the best guy on the floor, you're the most talented player in a Heat uniform because Jimmy Butler is not available because he's got a bug. You have to step up and be aggressive. You have to be selfish. You have to be the finisher. And I'm not going to make any excuses for the guy. I was listening a great segment today when Kai had on Royal A. Shepherd. But Royal, he was making some excuses for Adebayo, okay? He brought up the idea, like he said, hey, let's remember Adebayo is only 23 years old. He's a very young player. It's his 4th year in the league, guy, and only 23 years old. My grandfather came back from WW2 at 22 years old, and the damn Nazis didn't know what hit them when my grandfather was over there in the European theater. He comes home a war hero after a WW2 victory at 22 years old, and now you're making excuses for a 23-year-old Bam Adebayo can't take over games? It's his 4th year in the league, guys. So instead of making excuses for what he can be, let's just accept what he is. He's a great player, but he's not a number one scorer. He's not a lead guy. He's better playing off another, okay? Because you think, okay, so 4th year, we still don't know who he is. Dwayne Wade won a championship his 3rd year. And in that 3rd year, Dwayne Wade had one of the best individual performances in an NBA Finals that the league has ever seen, okay?
And an MVP Shaq.
Yeah, well, I mean.
His first year in Miami, he was an MVP candidate for sure. Nash stole that one, but he had some help compared to
yeah, but the thing is, but by the 3rd year for Wade, like the championship year, Shaq wasn't doing a whole lot.
Right. The first year in 04-05, Shaq was a lot better of a player.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And Shaq had a horrific 2006 Finals, NBA Finals appearance. But you're right, though. Bam does not have that Wade or, I guess, Kobe or like that just killer instinct inside, which is fine. You compare him to Chris Bosh, which is, I think, a perfect example. Chris Bosh was a 20-10 player before he got to Miami, which is really good. Granted, he played for Toronto, which he didn't have a lot of help over there. They're not the same Toronto team that we see today. I think Bam is at best a number 2 and number 3 player on a championship contending team.
Exactly.
He can't be your number 1 on a championship team because, unfortunately, as of now, he doesn't have the skill set to be one.
Amen. 844-416-8123 is how you get in. Well said. 844-416-8123. Hey, later this hour in about 15 minutes, we're going to talk some Dolphins with Alfredo Arteaga from 3 yards per carry. So keep it locked. So Alfredo's going to join us in the 3 p.m. hour. Giancarlo Navas is going to join us to talk some more Miami Heat in the 4 o'clock hour. Mike No-Go Zones is going to join us in studio in the 5 o'clock hour. I cannot wait to chat with Mike. He's got his new episode out on his video series, No-Go Zones. And dude just came back a couple weeks ago from Kabul, Afghanistan. And it's like, I'm so fascinated by the idea of an American taking a trip to Afghanistan. Obviously, that's not a trip that most Americans would even want to take. But then what's that experience even like? What's it like traveling over there? I mean, and you know what? I honestly, because I know a lot of folks. Actually, I know a couple people from Afghanistan and that part of the world, and some of the nicest freaking people, right? So, I mean, and honestly, I'm sure there was great hospitality over there, but you still have to wonder, like, did you feel safe in that part of the world? What was it like getting over there? So we're going to talk to Mike No-Go Zones about his experience abroad. Hey, Saturdays from 1 to 3 p.m., baseball fans can go deep into the count with Alex Aguirre and Christian Chase. Catch the show that talks Marlins and all the big stories in the major leagues. Every Saturday from 1 to 3 p.m., Seamheads have a new home. Listen to Deep Into the Count exclusively at OnSideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Listen to OnSideRadio.com anywhere by downloading the MyTuner Radio app in your app store. Or go to MyTunerRadio.com on your web browser. OnSideRadio.com. South Florida sports leader. When you need your warehouse looking good while staying efficient, there's only one place to find the finest racks in the business. Pallet Rack City in Hialeah. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. Pallet Rack City is the company you need when you want your warehouse sporting the finest racks in the business. After all, who doesn't love a great rack? Pallet Rack City. 305-424-8547. That's 305-424-8547. At OnSideRadio.com, we chirp all day and night. It's time to do some more chirping with David Dwork at our Chirping the Cats report.
The schedule gods are smiling on the Florida Panthers this week as the team is enjoying a few days off before wrapping up their regular season schedule. The extra days between games couldn't have come at a better time for Florida, with several players dealing with minor bumps and bruises that have kept them out of the lineup. That includes top six forwards Carter Verhaeghe, Sam Bennett, and Patrick Hornquist, all of whom are expected to return before the end of the regular season. Another key player who should be back in the Panthers lineup is goaltender Chris Streeter. He's been working his way back from a lower body injury, and head coach Joel Quenneville said earlier this week that he plans to start Streeter during Monday's regular season finale against Tampa. The Cats will enjoy another day off on Wednesday before returning to the BB&T Center for a pair of full squad practices Thursday and Friday. Then on Saturday, the fight for home ice in the first round begins as the Panthers host Tampa in what should be a preview of the Stanley Cup quarterfinals.
Keep up with the latest on the Florida Panthers by subscribing on most platforms by searching Onside Radio, your home for South Florida sports.
Now that it's springtime, it's only getting hotter here in South Florida. Make sure your AC in your home or business is running smoothly by investing in a preventative maintenance plan from M&S Air Conditioning. And M&S is a Mitsubishi Diamond Elite contractor. When you purchase a new Mitsubishi electric mini split system, you'll get a 12-year warranty. Or install a high-efficiency polarized air filter in your AC unit that captures and destroys biological contaminants to improve air quality. M&S Air Conditioning have been providing prompt, honest, and reliable service for over 30 years. Schedule service or call to get more info on our preventative maintenance plans. Call 954-421-3680 or visit ac-florida.com.
Join the Inter Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
You're listening to OnSideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnSideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station.
With Make-A-Wish, the impossible becomes possible. A girl battling cancer can become a race car driver battling the course. The boy showing all the nurses his fire trucks can take the helm of a real one. Wishes can give kids with critical illnesses the strength to keep fighting, get better, and grow up.
Where there's a wish, there's a way.
Wishes need you. Visit Make-A-Wish at wish.org.
Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yeah, welcome back in to Man of the Match here on Onside Radio here at Drive Pink Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. I'm looking out at those pink, black, gray, and white seats. They're just calling my name. And, hey, we have a home game this weekend. Sunday, Atlanta United are in town. My friend Dave from the Atlanta United SB Nation site, which is called, I think it's dirtysouthsoccer.com. He interviewed me for a Q&A about Inter Miami versus Atlanta United this week. I think Inter Miami are going to win this game. Atlanta United have not been putting forth the best results. You know, they got taken to the house by Philly in CONCACAF Champions League. I think they've got a draw, loss, and a win so far in MLS. Inter Miami should be getting a big boost this weekend. Higuain brothers are going to be back. You know, they were down in Argentina for a few days last week after their mother passed away, spending time with family, attending the funeral, all that difficult stuff that unfortunately we go through when we lose a relative, and my heart goes out to them, and my thoughts and prayers to their entire family, because you know they're back in town now, but it's going to take a long time to get over a loss like that. And I'm sure they're going to dedicate their performances to their mother from this point forward. And, 2 weeks ago against Philadelphia Union, they knew that their mother was essentially on her deathbed, which was, I'm sure, heartbreaking for them, and it took a big toll on them. But it really motivated them because, their mother had wanted to see them play together, which they did for about the final 25, 30 minutes of that game and really thrive together. And they both scored. Like, it was unbelievable. I mean, obviously that doesn't make up for losing your mother, but to be able to make the story that it was her dying wish to see them play together and play well, and then they both go out there and score, including Federico getting the game-winning goal. That's an incredible story. That's like something out of a Disney movie. I mean, to be able to paint it that way, a couple days before your mother passes away, to have the performance that they both had on the same pitch together for the W on the road in Philadelphia, where nobody has been winning games lately. That was an unbelievable way to write that story. And so after 2 weeks away from home, Inter Miami are back home this Sunday. It's another matinee game. So for those planning to come out, remember, this isn't a night game. It's not a late night affair. It's going to be a 1 p.m. kickoff here at the Fort Lauderdale Fortress Drive Pink Stadium. So plan your Sunday accordingly. And, of course, we'll be seeing about 8,000 of you out here at the stadium. I think we're, and I don't know the timeline. This is just me talking here. But I think we're a couple of months away from being able to open up the building to full capacity, right? So we're not long away from that. For the time being, we're going to have 8,000 out of about 19,000 here. So we'll see several of you out here at the stadium, and if you can't be out here, watch it on television, support La Rosa Negra, and make sure you know it's an afternoon game today. Speaking of Drive Pink Stadium, we still have a vaccination site here, and like I was noticing, we were talking about this yesterday, Alex. It used to be because it's been there for a few months, right? And it used to be appointment only. And I guess now they're not having, because hopefully this means most people have already gotten the vaccine. But now I see the signs when I drive past the stadium, and it says no appointment necessary. So if you're looking for a convenient spot to get vaccinated and you've had maybe trouble, because it was difficult for me. I mean, I just finished my second shot on Monday, and so it was like 5 or so weeks ago that I was first trying to book appointments. And I think it's gotten easier since then, to be fair. But about 5 weeks ago, when I was first trying to book appointments, I had a really hard time getting anything, like a really hard time. I was checking the Publix website and the CVS and Walgreens and Dade County and Broward County and Baptist, and I couldn't get an appointment anywhere until I was finally able to get one for a Walgreens down in Homestead, which is where I got my 2 shots at. And so now I can't speak for every site in Dade and Broward, but I know that the site we have here at Drive Pink Stadium, it now says no appointment needed. So it's essentially drive up now, as long as they have supply and as long as they're open. So if anyone out there is like, if you want to get vaccinated, you haven't already, and maybe you've had trouble getting an appointment somewhere, you can get one here. Going back to our Heat conversation, Ian from Brooklyn says, got to admit it, as much as I hate it, the Heat are fugazi. I can separate 1 year from another, okay? Like, just because the team is struggling a little bit this year doesn't mean they were fraudulent last year. Jay Crowder was an important piece last year that the Heat don't have this year. Goran Dragic was in a much better place physically. Goran has been decimated by injuries this year. He does not look like the same player. Tyler Hero was a lot more valuable last year than he is this year, okay? So, just because it's most of the same players and they're struggling this year doesn't mean they were any sort of a fraud or fugazi last year. You need to have perfect circumstances and a lot of luck to reach the NBA Finals. And every team that, unless you're, and look at how the Lakers are struggling this year. And obviously that's been mostly injury related. But unless you're a juggernaut team like the Lakers or like the Warriors a few years back or the Heat a decade ago, you need a lot of bounces to go your way to be an NBA Finals team. And just because the Heat had some of those last year doesn't mean they're a fraud this year. I just think that the circumstances were different. Dragic was so much better. Tyler Hero was so much better. Jay Crowder was so important to that team that it's not the same situation. Like, just because they're struggling this year, it doesn't, to me, take away anything from the NBA Finals run they had last year. We're going to talk some Miami Dolphins. We'll talk some NFL when we come back with Alfredo Arteaga from 3 Yards Per Carry. Hey, start your morning every day from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. with Toasted Sports. Toast covers all the local sports stories while providing some great Miami Hurricanes insight. So download, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. That's Toasted Sports, 8 a.m. only at OnSideRadio.com.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. Onside Radio, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan. Listen to every Inter-Miami CF match on your home for La Rosa Negra, OnSideRadio.com. Catch us every day on the MyTuner Radio app. Get the brutal honesty every day with the Onside Zone with a Big O from 12 noon to 3 p.m. every weekday on your home for sports talk in South Florida. OnSideRadio.com.
Join the Inter-Miami family in 2021 by becoming a 2021 season ticket member. Enjoy enhanced access benefits and pricing not available to general fans. Visit intermiamicf.com/tickets for more information.
Keeping you informed in the world of sports. With an OnSideRadio.com sports update.
Miami Heat lost to the Dallas Mavericks last night 127-113. Jimmy Butler was ruled out before the game with flu-like symptoms. Duncan Robinson and Goran Dragic chipped in with 19 points each for Miami. The Heat host the Minnesota Timberwolves Friday night. Miami Marlins won Game 1 of their series against the Arizona Diamondbacks 9-3. Brian Anderson, fresh off the IL, hit a 3-run homer in his first at-bat. The two teams are back at it tonight at 6:40. Luke Weaver versus Pablo Lopez will be your pitching matchup for tonight. This Sunday, Inter-Miami CF welcomes the Atlanta United to Drive Pink Stadium at 1 p.m., which means Big O and Alex Donno will get you started with the On-Site Radio pre-game show starting at noon, leading into the call of the game with Chris Whittingham, Thomas Rodman, and Fernando Fiori at 1 p.m. You're listening to the only locally owned sports talk station in South Florida, OnSiteRadio.com.
Parents, we know we can't protect our kids from everything. Eventually, they're going to bump their heads or scrape their knees. But we can protect them from 6 types of cancer. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a common, preventable virus that can cause cancer later in life. The HPV vaccine prevents human papillomavirus and all the cancers it can cause. The American Cancer Society recommends getting your sons and daughters the HPV vaccine starting at age 9 to protect them later in life.
There's no need to drive around South Florida wasting valuable time looking for a new or certified pre-owned Acura. Go to the #1 volume sales dealership in the Southeast United States. Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. Purchase with pace and space in a dealership tailored to your needs. From home buying to providing that personal touch. Contact the 2020 Satisfaction Award winner Craig Zinn's Acura of Pembroke Pines. 888-776-5123. That's 888-776-5123. Or visit them at 15601 Pines Boulevard in Pembroke Pines.
You're listening to this station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnSideRadio.com. Broadcasting from South Florida to the world. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
We love whenever we can talk NFL, Miami Dolphins with our next guest. He does an awesome job on the 3 Yards Per Carry podcast on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Alfredo Arteaga joins us. Alf, good afternoon, sir. Have you recovered from a very busy NFL draft weekend?
Yeah, I'm pretty much recovered from this past weekend.
How did you feel the Dolphins did? And because, listen, locally, the reviews have been overall very good. There's always some super negative Dolphin fans who find things to complain about. But locally, overall, it's been good. And I find nationally, like the people who don't like specifically even cover the Dolphins, but a lot of the people who cover the entire league absolutely loved the Dolphins draft. Do you have a grade for it?
Yeah, I was saying earlier today how, one of the dumbest things that we do is grade drafts, the day after. They haven't even played a game yet. But, having said that, I'll give them a solid A-.
Love it. And believe me,
Yeah.
I know how ridiculous it is, but it still doesn't stop me from doing it because, I think you have to compartmentalize it, right? Because I know that you don't truly get a draft grade until maybe 3 years down the road, to be honest, because a lot of times players don't really blossom until like year 3 or beyond. But still, like if we just go based on needs, on players and prospects available, I think the Dolphins did a bang-up job. Now, let me ask you, though. So the Dolphins, obviously, they drafted a ton of players that people rave about, but are you a little bit concerned that they didn't get a running back until the 7th round and they didn't draft a center? Because those were a couple of needs heading in.
Well, they straight up passed on Quinton Miners at pick 81. So that tells you what they were thinking as far as center. They think that evidently they're set there. And if you look at the depth chart, what do they really have? They have Matt Skura, who a year ago, had they signed him for $10 million a year, nobody would have batted an eye. But, since then, he's had some issues. He had the yips. He couldn't snap the ball. So we don't know how that's going to work out. Behind him, what you really have is Michael Dieter and Jesse Davis and not much else. So they evidently are happy with what they have at center. As far as running back, I think the evidence is already in. They don't care about the position.
Yep.
At least not enough to draft one high. There's a rumor that they might have taken him at 36. I'm told that they weren't. I'm told that they would have taken Javon Holland regardless at 36. So we shall see. We'll never know. But, Denver seems to think so. Denver seems to think that the Dolphins were going to take Javonte Williams at 36. So that's why they traded ahead of him. But, the evidence is in. They don't value the position. And, I don't think anything's going to change that mindset, at least not for the time being.
That's probably something that Greer and Flores took from Belichick, right? I mean, they're Belichick disciples, and it's not like Bill Belichick was ever, lining up to draft running backs high or to sign like really highly touted running backs. I mean, they did sign Corey Dillon once upon a time, but he had some issues before they brought him in. So that's probably the Belichick school of thought.
They did draft Sony Michel as of late.
Oh, yeah, that's right. A couple years ago. Yeah, it's true. That's
true. And quite a while ago, like maybe 8 years ago, was it, when they drafted Lawrence Maroney in the first round? So they sprinkle in a running back high every once in a while. But, yeah, it seems to be like, they get a guy for each role, and that's it. And the guy that they got in the 7th round, it was interesting because they got Jared Dokes, is a guy that I saw play plenty. But I didn't think he was a better prospect than Colin Hill, which is the Mississippi State running back. Colin Hill actually went behind Jared Dokes. They took him ahead of Colin Hill, so evidently they like him better. So they like him for a role over what Colin Hill would have provided. Colin Hill was going to be more of I guess he's more of an every down back, while Jared Dokes is more of a short yardage runner. So I guess that's how they're going to address their short yardage issues from last year.
Did you like the Jalen Phillips pick, or do you have concerns about his concussion history?
Oh, you have to have concerns about his concussion history and his injury history, but, where are you going to take a guy like that? You either take him in the top 10 with no injury history, or you're going to have to take him at 18 if, with an injury history, because he's, by all accounts, and in my opinion, the best pass rusher in the draft and could have been the best defender in the draft. So, yeah, you're not going to get lucky and get a guy of his caliber with 0 warts at 18. There has to be something, and in his case, it's his injury history. Good thing he's been healthy as of late. Hopefully it continues.
What about Waddle at number 6? Now, I know that Chris Greer has said, or he's told folks that was actually the guy who he had number 2 on his big board after only Trevor Lawrence. So by that metric, that's a huge W for Greer, to trade from 3, ultimately end up at number 6 and still get the guy you had ranked number 2. How did you feel about the pick? And of course, we all know that Kyle Pitts was not an option then, neither was Jamar Chase. So do you think they made the right move with Waddle?
I absolutely believe him when he says that he was number 1 on their board as far as wide receivers. I don't believe that they would have taken him ahead of Kyle Pitts.
I agree.
But Jalen Waddle is a perfect fit for this offense. While Kyle Fuller stretches the field vertically, Jalen Waddle stretches it horizontally. So he's a perfect fit for what they want to do going forward. Now, my only issue with Jalen Waddle is, was he really the best wide receiver on his team? And
right.
I don't think the answer could be yes. I don't think he was the best Alabama wide receiver. I do believe we passed on the better wide receiver to get the better fit.
So do you think the Dolphins are going to regret not drafting Devontae Smith? Because I don't think so, but I know that you were very high on Devontae.
Well, I think it could be a situation where Jalen Waddle fits a role so well here.
I agree with
where
that.
the Dolphin fan is not gonna essentially care too much about it. And if you look at it, Devonta Smith is going to a situation that I don't think is it's a pretty good one for a wide receiver. Jalen Hurts, I didn't like him coming down the stretch last year, so I don't think there's going to be a lot of opportunities for Devonta Smith to put up big numbers. So we may not know for a while.
We're joined here by Alfredo Arteaga, who does an awesome job on 3 yards per carry on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Hey, what do you think happens with Aaron Rodgers? Like, this is getting really, really ugly, and it reminds me, of course, a lot of what was happening with Deshaun Watson before the lawsuits became the story. Do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to be a Packer next year? If not, where does he wind up?
I think that this is a case where it can come to a head, and the Packers can just say, we're not trading you. And you've caused so much of a stink that now it's a case of diminishing returns, and we're not going to trade you for a lonely first-round pick. I'm not going to be known as the general manager that traded the reigning MVP to Denver, let's say, and then Denver quickly got itself into a Super Bowl. So I think Green Bay could play hardball, and you could see him just retire.
Wow.
He seems like he's pretty serious about this.
Wow.
So
now what if hold on,
retire.
But now what if for Packers ownership, what if hypothetically all they had to do to make this right is fire the GM? Shouldn't they just fire the GM then, because it's not like he's done a great job anyway?
Well, that's a great question, because I don't know how that works, because Packers ownership is essentially the municipality. It's Green Bay, Wisconsin.
That's a good
point.
So
I don't know who fires and who hires what.
Ooh.
So
they should have a town meeting. Town meeting and say, all right, Gutekunst is fired. He's done.
Can you imagine if an NFL franchise was actually run that way? Just by proxy, you have a giant vote and everybody votes for who gets fired, who gets hired. All of this is over money. Could this come to where Green Bay just completely caves and, let's say sometime in July, tells Aaron Rodgers, here you go. You're the highest paid quarterback in the history of the sport. Come back and play for us. Could that be the case? He's already told his teammates that he's not coming back. So
wow.
It's a test of wills. We'll see where it ends up. But I don't think you can trade him. Put yourself in Green Bay's shoes. Would you trade him? I wouldn't.
Honestly, though, if it was either trade him or he retires, then why not trade him? And they already drafted Jordan Love last year. I know that they weren't planning on handing it over this early, but you already drafted his future replacement. If it's really he's going to retire if he doesn't play for you, this isn't obviously what I would like to do. I'd rather have Aaron Rodgers as my quarterback. But if it's either he retires or I trade him, I'm trading him.
Yeah, I guess, but do you really want to be known as the guy that traded the reigning MVP and the face of the franchise?
Oof.
I don't know.
It's
it's a rough spot to be in my opinion.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Wow, and so hey, let's just to put a bow on the whole Dolphins draft. We talked about the first round picks. You mentioned Javon Holland. You believe they would have drafted him even if Javonte Williams was still on the board. What did you think about the Eichenberg pick? and about the long pick at tight end?
I was completely confused by both. Liam Eichenberg is a guy who we know is a really, really good college left tackle. Evidently, it seems to me that the Dolphins are going to try him at right tackle. Now, that's easier to do than moving from right tackle to left tackle, although moving from tackle to guard is probably the easiest transition he can make. We know he was a good left tackle, so we really don't know much about him as a right tackle. So it's going to be kind of wait and see on Liam Eichenberg. Although Jakari, who he's on our network and he keeps saying the same thing, and it's true if you look back on it. When has Notre Dame produced a bad offensive lineman? You know,
that's a good point.
So maybe Liam Eichenberg is the one guy that can make that transition. So that left me a little bit confused. Hunter Long, that's even more confusing because they kind of have him on the roster already in Adam Shaheen.
Right.
And he is kind of cheap, right? Like you wanted a dual threat tight end, a guy who's capable of blocking in line and then stretching the field vertically. That's kind of what Adam Shaheen can do while Mike Gesicki plays the Y-ISO role. Now, Hunter Long, it seems to me, is kind of pushing Durham Smythe out. So maybe it's insurance for a year from now when Mike Gesicki and Durham Smythe are up for a contract. And I guess in that case it makes sense. But at 81, a little bit too rich for my blood, although a lot of people really love the pick.
Really good stuff here, as always, from Alfredo Arteaga. Make sure you check him out on 3 yards per carry. The guy's doing an awesome job. Alf, thank you so much, man, for the time and for the insight, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome stuff there. All right, when we come back, we're going to wrap up the 3 o'clock hour. I feel so bad for this former Miami Dolphin, and I'm a little bit upset at the circumstances that led to his injury. It's really aggravating to me. Hey, heated NBA fans, you can catch Ira Winderman here exclusively at OnSideRadio.com with our Acura of Pembroke Pines Miami Heat reports. Catch Ira throughout the week at OnSideRadio.com and when news breaks. Basketball fans know Onside Radio is the place you get the insight you need.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You're listening to the only sports station in South Florida that likes to take your calls. 888-441-4623. We connect with a South Florida sports fan because we are South Florida. Locally owned and operated. 888-441-4623. OnSideRadio.com. South Florida's home for real sports talk. You can connect with us at OnSideRadio.com by sending us a text at 844-416-8123. Save it on your cell phone, 844-416-8123. No better place to send your comments, ask questions, win prizes. OnSideRadio.com, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan. Every Thursday, NBA fans can catch one of the best basketball shows in the country when Ethan Skolnick and Ira Winderman host Inside the Paint. Listen to two of the most knowledgeable and connected reporters in the business. Get year-round insight every Thursday at 10:30 a.m. with Inside the Paint on the home for hardcore basketball fans. OnSideRadio.com.
Big O for M&S Air Conditioning. You know, air quality in your home and business is more important than ever. That's why you've got to call M&S Air Conditioning and let them install a high-efficiency polarized air filter in your AC unit. Folks, it attracts, captures, and destroys biological contaminants to improve your air quality. With stellar customer service, answering your call from 7:30 a.m. till 9 o'clock p.m. For more info on high-efficiency air filters and their preventative maintenance plans, visit M&S Air Conditioning at ac-florida.com.
Hey, what's up? It's Toast. May is here, which means hurricane season right around the corner. You need to get PGT custom windows and doors installed in your house so that you're fully protected when we get a big storm coming on through. For those windows, only one place to call. My buddies at B&T Windows and Doors. They've been doing it in South Florida for decades, and they will set you up with the best in the business. PGT Custom Windows and Doors. 954-233-0126. That's 954-233-0126 for B&T Windows and Doors.
You're listening to this station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnSideRadio.com. Broadcasting from South Florida to the world. BYB Extreme Bare Knuckle Fighting Series presents BYB 5. Saturday, May 15th at the fair at Tamiami Park. Meet Dada 5000. See bare knuckle brawlers fight live in BYB's patented triangle ring, the Trigon. The smallest and most confrontational ring in combat sports. Early action includes slap fights as seen on YouTube. Buy your tickets now at BYBtickets.com for BYB 5. Saturday, May 15th. Doors open at 6 p.m. BYB is proudly sponsored by BMCHam.com. Your choice for gold and silver. BMCHam.com.
When you're looking to add that extra style and protection for your home or business, visit a shade above Window Fashions in Davie or Sunrise, where plantation shutters are a major part of our business, and they look great in any home. We have them in white, stained colors, and wood tones. We can even motorize your shutters like the one in the OnSideRadio.com studio. A shade above Window Fashions, 954-434-4774. That's 954-434-4774. Love the space you live in. A shade above Window Fashions.
You're listening to the only sports station in South Florida that likes to take your calls. 888-441-4623. We connect with a South Florida sports fan because we are South Florida. Locally owned and operated. 888-441-4623. OnSideRadio.com. South Florida's home for real sports talk. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Tell you a guy that I feel terrible for. This was when I used to cover the Dolphins on an everyday basis up until a few years ago, like 2016, 2017, 2018. I was in the locker room every single day. I covered every practice. One of the nicest guys in that locker room was always Juwan James, who's now a former Miami Dolphin, but former Dolphins right tackle. Really great guy. I always enjoyed being around him. I feel terrible after I heard yesterday what happened to him, and even worse than terrible when I find out the details. So Juwan James suffered a torn Achilles tendon, and this is an injury that occurred away from the Broncos facility. And because the injury occurred away from the team facility, it can be classified as a quote-unquote non-football injury by the NFL, which means the Broncos would not be obligated to pay James his $9.85 million base salary. Now, I know some of you will react and say, hey, the Broncos owe him that money. They should pay him that money. And maybe you're not wrong. But you know who should pay him that money? The NFLPA. The union owes him that $10 million. Because the reason why Juwan James's injury happened away from the facility, and maybe the reason why it happened to begin with, is the dopey, greedy NFLPA who try to make their players think we really care about you. They care about money. The same way the NFL cares about money, the same way you, me, Alex, everyone listening cares about money. The NFLPA using their players as pawns to try and renegotiate a CBA. So they're trying to renegotiate the crappy CBA that they agreed to and ratified a year ago. They agreed to it, they ratified it, they decide they don't like it, and so they decide to use their players as pawns, and they advise their players. You remember a few weeks ago, we covered it on the show, we covered it on this station. The NFLPA was encouraging all the players to boycott the in-person workouts with their teams. Don't show up to the off-season workouts. And they use the bullshit excuse of, oh, well, we don't feel safe there because of COVID-19. Listen, the facilities did a good job last year of keeping things relatively safe. It's only gotten easier to do that this year. These players should all be vaccinated by now anyway. So you can't use COVID as the excuse not to show up to off-season activities, because here's the part that you geniuses all found out. If you're not working out of the team facilities, you still have to work out somewhere. You're an NFL player. Your body is a temple. You have to be in peak physical condition heading into the season. So these guys can't just not work out, okay? So instead of letting your players work out in team facilities where they're getting the guidance of team employees, coaches, trainers, physios, they're going out and working wherever the hell they want to outside of the facility. And A, they're not at any less risk or any more risk of COVID, or they're probably at more risk. Sorry, they're not at any less risk of COVID if they're working out outside the facility. They're probably at more risk of COVID, which was your BS excuse to begin with. And oh yeah, you have a liability problem, you dopes. You have the liability problem of, at least if God forbid you suffered an injury at the team facility, at least there you're covered. You suffer an injury, rogue, working out on your own, you're not covered. And that's what Juwan James is going through. So he and all of these other players who boycotted their team workouts and decided to work out on their own because the players' union pressured them, the players' union bullied them, and used them as pawns to try and renegotiate a CBA that they never should have agreed to begin with. The players' union owes him that money. I'm sorry. It's absolutely disgusting what happened. I feel terrible for him. Ugh. Jimmy Shore says, don't feel terrible, dude. The guy is a multimillionaire that never even loved the game. How do you know that? Okay, you know he's a multimillionaire, fine, but how do you know he never even loved the game? He has insurance too, Jimmy says. Did he have that entire salary insured? I'm sure he's got the medical insurance. He's not going to have to pay for the surgery he needs. I'm not going to not feel terrible for him. Anytime you're talking about a player that has to miss a year of his career, how do you know he doesn't love football? I think he does love football. I feel awful for the guy, and I feel awful that he was used by that union. Of course they care about money. He says the NFLPA has to pay OJ over $500,000 each year. Oh, my God. 844-416-8123 is how you get in. That's 844-416-8123. And Juwan James, by the way, had opted out of last season. So, oh, my God, I feel terrible for this guy. He was injured a bunch with the Dolphins. Now he opts out last year. He gets hurt before this year. Man, get well soon, Juwan James. 844-416-8123. We'll get the 4 o'clock hour kicked off when we come back at 4:20. We're going to talk with Giancarlo Navas from Miami Heat Beat. We'll talk about the impotent Miami Heat without Jimmy Butler. Big problem for them last night. They lost to the Dallas Mavericks yesterday. Coming up next, has the University of Miami found their quarterback for the future? We will discuss. Hey, every day at Onside Radio, our hosts sit down at the round table to tackle the most important local or national sports headlines. The Roundtable is podcasted daily, so search Onside Radio on all platforms, subscribe, rate, and review to listen to all kinds of station segments. OnsideRadio.com is the home for the South Florida sports fan.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back. Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
We'll be right back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You're listening to the home of Inter Miami CF.
His strike is a decent one. It's fired into the top right corner. Gonzalo Higuain opens his account for Inter Miami.
OnsideRadio.com, where the passion for La Rosa Negra runs deep.
Inter Miami
Miami CF fans, join us at our new home this season for all away games as we broadcast live at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company, 1901 North Federal Highway in Pompano Beach. Join Big O and Alex Donno for the live pregame, halftime, and postgame shows while we watch the games. Enjoy meticulously brewed beer on site, delicious artisanal pizzas, live music, and giveaways. So, the new home for all Inter Miami road games is at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company at the Pompano City Mall, where they'll feature all the Inter Miami games. Follow them on Twitter at Dangerous Minds B and Facebook and Instagram at Dangerous Minds Brewing, and visit them at dangerousmindsbrewing.com.
When you're looking for curtains and blinds to create a space of your own, look no further than Bandalux. Bandalux can tailor your space to your needs. Create the atmosphere and ambiance you desire. We invite you to discover it at Bandalux.com. Explore our new solar control systems, range of sustainable fabrics, and energy-efficient solutions that can improve your well-being and quality of life. Witness Bandalux Beauty. Go to Bandalux.com or follow them on Instagram at Bandalux_official. For a personal experience, A Shade Above Window Fashions in Davie and Sunrise is an official Bandalux partner.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your Inter Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or intermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
You're listening to OnsideRadio.com. Catch up anytime by downloading the MyTuner Radio app. OnsideRadio.com, South Florida's true hometown station. You're listening to the station with more live and local sports talk than anyone else in South Florida. OnsideRadio.com. Broadcasting from South Florida to the world. Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno.
It's all yours. Just keep it right here.
You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Yeah, 4 o'clock hour of Man of the Match with Alex Donno. Oh, I'm Alex Donno, and I'm with you guys here on OnsideRadio.com. With you till 6 o'clock, so 2 more hours. 4:20, we're going to be joined by Giancarlo Navas from Miami Heat Beat. We'll talk about Bam Adebayo needed to be a little bit more assertive. You know, are we ever going to see Victor Oladipo again? Give me a yes or no answer, Alex. You know, no maybes, yes or no.
No. I don't think he's going to show up at all.
You knew exactly what I was going to ask you.
Yeah. No, I don't think he's going to show up at all for the playoffs or nothing. And it's a shame because he's a good guy and a good player.
He's a grifter.
And 2018 was his career year, and he really hasn't replicated something like that again, obviously because of his injury history. But that he can definitely use him in the playoffs, especially, let's say they face Brooklyn. And they need his perimeter defense and his scoring because at the end of the day, he is the third person in terms of, like, where is the offense coming from on this team. Goran Dragic is iffy right now. It's Bam and Jimmy, and then that third person is up in the air. The trade for Oladipo was for him to be that third option, and now the Heat are down an option, and now they have to rely more on Dragic. So it just puts everything more complicated for this team, and I don't think he's going to appear at all for this team anymore. There's only 7 games left in the regular season. I don't think he's going to show up in the playoffs. I think they're going to go to battle without him, and for good reason. They've been battling all season without him anyway.
Yeah, the thing is, the Miami Heat look at his issue the same way that I look at it. It's like, bro, we gave you time here, but at some point, you've got to test the knee again. X-rays were negative, no structural damage in the MRI. We've given you plenty of time now, to feel more comfortable. I guess he's been out there seeking second, third, fourth opinions. When you seek that many opinions, you're looking for excuses not to play, if you ask me. Like, you seek that many outside opinions, you're doing that because you're trying to find a doctor that's finally going to say, yeah, you can't play on it, because apparently every other doctor is saying you can. So if I'm the Heat, I'm getting really aggravated. I'm going to say the same thing now I said a week ago, that, on the one hand, I can respect the fact that 2 years ago, Oladipo had a really, really, really serious injury, And that's going to be in the back of your mind, right? Anytime you land weird on that knee, you feel a little bit of discomfort, you're going to start to get the flashbacks. You're going to have the fear of doing what you did to the knee 2 years ago. But if 2 years later you're unwilling to take any risk whatsoever on that knee and you're not willing to play, do your job, the job you're getting paid very handsomely for because you're afraid you might re-injure it, retire. I mean, if it's that much of a concern for you that even though, again, there's no actual damage to the knee, right? Because modern science and modern medicine says you're not injured, right? You may feel like you're hurt. You may feel like it's a little bit sore. You may be afraid because you're having flashbacks of the serious injury that you had. But if you're that concerned that you're afraid to test the knee, then stop accepting millions of dollars to play basketball because you clearly would rather be retired. So I'm very frustrated by it. I love how when I asked Alex the question, and Alex answered it before I could even finish the question, which is fantastic. But I was asking him, are we ever going to see Oladipo suit up again this year? And right as I asked him, Marla on the text line, rapid fire, she said, no. Then another text, nope. Another text, negative. Another text, no way. He's a grifter whose health hit a brick wall just a few games after signing with the Heat. Nope, she wrote. He and his agent misled this team. How did Oladipo pass the physical exam before signing with? I'll tell you how he passed the physical exam. He's not hurt. That's how he passed the physical. He passed the physical because he's fine. He continues every day. He continues to pass physicals, but he's decided I don't feel like showing up for work today. It's absurd.
Is he the type of because we were talking about Juwan James and we were saying, oh, maybe he doesn't love the sport, he doesn't care, something like that. Can that question be thrown to Victor Oladipo?
Maybe. I mean, but it might be as simple, and I don't know. Maybe. The answer to that question, it could be yes. But I also think that he's too afraid to get re-injured. And if you're too afraid to get re-injured, retire. You know? But I don't know. You bring up an interesting point, right? Because if you were really doing this for the love of competition and you're wanting to win, you're trying to win championships, then you would find a way to play, right? I mean, you know, Michael Jordan had one of his best games ever with the flu. And nowadays, I mean, this Jimmy Butler is another one.
Flu-like symptoms.
Flu-like symptoms, and he can't play. Now, listen, I get it. If players have COVID, they can't play because it's a pandemic. Like you can't be out there spreading that. But if you feel a little bit sick and you don't have COVID, sack up and play. Jordan did it. He was fine. 1997, with my traveling club soccer team, I played a game with 102 fever, and I played great. Felt awful before the game, felt awful after the game, but the adrenaline kicked in during the game. I sucked it up in a way that Victor Oladipo clearly cannot do, and Jimmy Butler clearly cannot do.
People got to look up Isaiah Thomas's NBA Finals performance in the 1987 Finals against the LA Lakers. That was one of the greatest performances. They lost that Finals, but he played practically with one foot. He was limping, he was hobbling while dribbling the basketball on the court, running up and down, just hobbling. That's love for the game. Now it's an old school mindset, it's an old school mentality. Players are making astronomical numbers compared to the days of Isaiah Thomas and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. But still, though, there's got to be something from within. No matter, I don't care how much money you make, there's got to be something from within saying, I got to get out there and help my team. And if Isaiah Thomas did it, probably one of the smallest players ever as well in the NBA, and he did it, I don't see why Jimmy Butler, and I'm just throwing these names out there because these are recent injuries with the Miami Heat. I mean, Jimmy Butler is a competitor. We all know that. And that's off to the side. But for Victor Oladipo, it's like, come on, man. You got guys playing with broken fingers,
Ronnie Lott played with a crushed finger, and then he had the finger amputated because if he had had surgery, he would have had to miss more games. That's dedication.
Play with a broken finger on his throwing hand in the playoff run to when they finally won the Super Bowl. But but listen to all the names I'm mentioning. These are names from over 30 years ago now. And it's just for me, my take at the end of it is it's just a different game. Sports are different compared in terms of how you handle injuries today compared to 30 years ago. And they're treated, and I hate to say it like this, but they're treated like property in a way. You don't want to damage your property or else it loses value. So it sucks that they're viewed in that way, but it's a business.
Do you remember the pro boxer we talked to a few weeks ago that he fought in the Olympics with a leaking lung?
Yes.
Like it was like air was leaking into his lung.
And he fought.
And a former MMA fighter, former Strikeforce star, Muhammad Lual, King Mo, fought twice without an ACL. Like because he had like he torn his ACL and like he hadn't gotten the replacement yet. Because it's like a whole thing. Like when you, because when you tear your ACL, I guess there's a number of different ways they can repair it. But sometimes when it's really bad, they give you an ACL from a cadaver. Like they swipe it from a body. Like they dig up somebody's grave. Not really, but that's what I imagine in my head. I'm sure they get it from the morgue somewhere, an organ donor. But they dig up somebody's grave. They yank out their ACL. They put it in your leg. And then sometimes when they give you the cadaver ACL, your body like rejects it. So like he couldn't get like a match. Like he couldn't get he fought twice without an ACL. It's crazy. And then you're telling me that our guy Victor Oladipo can't play with a sore knee, and King Mo Lawal could fight in the I guess not technically the octagon because he was in Strikeforce, but in the hexagon he could fight without an ACL. And our guy Oladipo can't play because his knee's a little bit sore. Oh, I've got an owie. Oh, it hurts. It hurts. I've got to, I want to hold off on this till we can devote more time to it. I've got some really incredible audio concerning Zach Wilson. But I think, Alex, I want to hold on to this because if I play it now, I'm only going to have a couple minutes to react to it because Giancarlo Navas is coming on with us in less than 10 minutes. So I want to hold on to this until later in the 4 o'clock hour. But some really awkward, incredibly good audio I want to play for you. Yeah, I'd mentioned something about the Miami Hurricanes. They had their spring game a couple of weeks ago. I was strolling through the internet today, and I'm on one of my favorite sites, stateoftheu.com. Our guy Marsh, former Onside Radio family member, writes for them, and they asked the question, have the Miami Hurricanes found their quarterback of the future? My answer to that is yes. Now, we know who the quarterback of the present is. Get well soon. He's recovering from an injury of his own. And I guarantee you, De'Ara King, a lot tougher than Victor Oladipo. Right? De'Ara King is doing whatever he can to get back on the field. Victor Oladipo is doing whatever he can to stay off the court. He's not tough. De'Ara King is, okay? De'Ara King, Manny Diaz said it. If he's got to play on crutches against Alabama September 4th, he's going to be out there playing on crutches if that's what he has to do. I don't think that's going to be the case because he's smashing every benchmark in his rehab. De'Ara King is going to come back like a freaking monster. He's going to be good to go. And Vegas thinks he's going to be good to go because he's like one of the top 3 in Heisman Trophy odds heading into next year, and you're not going to be one of the Heisman favorites if the bettors don't think you're going to be back for the start of the season. So you look at the evidence. The evidence is pointing to him being back better than ever. But you're in a good situation, Miami, because you had 2 guys during the spring competing to be the backup quarterback this year and also trying to get a head start in being the future starter at Miami. Tyler Van Dyke and Jake Garcia. And I believe between one of the 2 of them, Miami is going to have their long-term answer for quarterback of the future. And I believe it's going to be Jake Garcia. I don't think you can teach talent like that kid has. Now, for most of the spring, Van Dyke was slightly better, and I think it's because he was way ahead. Right? To me, Jake Garcia is more talented. But Tyler Van Dyke, who's also a great athlete, a high-level baseball player, excellent quarterback he was at the high school level coming out of Connecticut, although freaking Garcia's pedigree, though, is great because Garcia dominated high school football in California and then in Georgia. So, I mean, that's you rank that a little bit ahead of football in the state of Connecticut. The state of Connecticut is more like a yacht club, country club type of situation, whereas Georgia and California, like that's elite high school football right there. But, yeah, I think Tyler Van Dyke was better for most of spring because he's the guy who's been in the system for a year. He's a year older. He had the year head start redshirting last year. Jake Garcia, the early enrollee, which makes that even more impressive how good he was in the spring game. Because if Tyler Van Dyke had the better spring total, we all watched it 2 Saturdays ago. Jake Garcia clearly had the better spring game. And I see so much talent in his arm strength, his touch on the deep ball, his intelligence, his command in the pocket. Now I get it. Spring game, it's Miami players versus Miami players. Very vanilla playbook. You're not showing a whole lot. You're not facing real competition. You take it with a grain of salt. I know that. I've been doing this for way too long to overreact to a spring game, but I really think that there's something special there with Garcia, and that could also be the case with Van Dyke. So between the two of them, and personally I think Garcia is going to be the guy, I think we're going to be in really good shape in a couple of years at the quarterback position. I'm going to enjoy the present with De'Aaron King, though, because this guy is a rare athlete. And the crazy thing is that even though De'Aaron King is very short for that quarterback position, he's under 6 feet tall, I guess people are looking at him as being like the next dynamic dual threat guy because his draft stock is relatively high. Like he's got a pretty high predicted draft grade from Pro Football Focus. So I'm not saying he's going to be a first-round pick necessarily, but De'Aaron King is going to get drafted. Like he's not going to be a UFA. So even though like he's very small for the position, he's like 5'10", he's considered to be talented enough that someone is going to take a chance on him at the NFL level, which is really cool for him. But I think that once he's gone, Miami's going to have maybe more of like the prototypical type of pocket passer. But I absolutely do believe that Miami has found their quarterback of the future, and I think it's Jake Garcia. If it's not Garcia, Tyler Van Dyke could be the guy. When we come back, we'll talk a little Miami Heat with our good friend Giancarlo Navas from Miami Heat Beat. He's going to join us after this. Hey, Onside Radio understands that gaming is a big part. Oh, wow, I just burped. That's very rude. Couldn't help it. Onside Radio understands that gaming is a big part of the sports landscape. That's why every day we keep you updated with some of the latest gaming news with Onside Radio's E-Minute, hosted by Toast, Kai, and Michael Christian. If you miss it, it's podcasted daily. Search OnsideRadio.com on all platforms. Subscribe, rate, and review. OnsideRadio.com is the station gamers call home.
We'll be right back to the man of the match with Alex Donno. You can join us on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623. You can connect with us at OnsideRadio.com by sending us a text at 844-416-8123. Save it on your cell phone, 844-416-8123. No better place to send your comments, ask questions, win prizes. OnsideRadio.com, the only choice for the South Florida sports fan. If you missed Onside Zone with Big O, you missed.
The 25-year-old was reportedly arrested this past week near Vail, where a sheriff's deputy said he saw Camargo's car speeding and changing lanes erratically, which is always really smart. When you're carrying a lot of drugs, you want to speed, you want to swerve, you want to look like you're drunk and high and all that. You want to cause as much attention. You want to bring as much attention to you when you're carrying a load of drugs. That's just the tip for you, thieves out there, you drug dealers, you criminals. Bring all the attention possible to you while you're committing a crime. It's really, really smart.
The Onside Zone with Big O, only on OnsideRadio.com.
Inter Miami CF fans, join us at our new home this season for all away games as we broadcast live at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company, 1901 North Federal Highway in Pompano Beach. Join Big O and Alex Donno for the live pregame, halftime, and postgame shows while we watch the games. Enjoy meticulously brewed beer on site, delicious artisanal pizzas, live music, and giveaways. So, the new home for all Inter Miami road games is at Dangerous Minds Brewing Company at the Pompano City Mall, where they'll feature all the Inter Miami games. Follow them on Twitter at Dangerous Minds B and Facebook and Instagram at Dangerous Minds Brewing, and visit them at dangerousmindsbrewing.com.
Hey Panthers fans, Dave Dwork here with some awesome news. Every Saturday, I'm going to bring you the latest on everything to do with the Florida Panthers with Chirping the Cats Radio. Saturday mornings from 10 to 11 a.m., we'll dive into the state of the team, recap games, and hear from past and present Panthers players, and plenty of other great hockey guests too. Got questions about the Panthers? Call or text the show and we'll break it down. Don't miss Chirping the Cats Radio, Saturday mornings from 10 to 11 a.m. only on OnsideRadio.com.
Big O for M&S Air Conditioning. You know, air quality in your home and business is more important than ever. That's why you've got to call M&S Air Conditioning and let them install a high-efficiency polarized air filter in your AC unit. Folks, it attracts, captures, and destroys biological contaminants to improve your air quality. With stellar customer service, answering your call from 7:30 a.m. till 9 o'clock p.m. For more info on high-efficiency air filters and their preventative maintenance plans, visit M&S Air Conditioning at ac-florida.com.
Fish fans, time to reel in the latest news in baseball with OnSideRadio.com's Marlins Minute. Here's Christian Chase.
Last night, the Miami Marlins took on the Arizona Diamondbacks in the first game of their series in Miami, and the Marlins had some of their cavalry back from injury. Brian Anderson came back, Miguel Rojas, after his day off, came back, and Brian Anderson immediately produced a 3-run homer early, set the tone for this game, and it looked like the Marlins were smooth sailing with Sandy on the mound. Sandy went 6 innings, allowing only 1 earned run, was in line for the win all the way till the 8th inning when, as I like to call him, Heath Bell reincarnate, Anthony Bass came into the game. It allowed the Diamondbacks to tie the game. Luckily, in the bottom of the 8th, the Marlins strung together some hits, capped off by a 3-run home run by Lewis Brinson, and the Marlins ended up winning this game 9-3. The bullpen does look better overall, and even after everything that has happened to the Marlins, we're only a game and a half back of first place in the NL East. So after the end of this series, anything can happen. It's an exciting time for Marlins baseball.
Keep up with the latest on the Miami Marlins by subscribing on most platforms by searching Onside Radio.
ADHD. It's the child who can't pay attention or sit still in school, right? The answer may be yes. Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, or ADHD, can be complicated and it can last a lifetime. Living with a condition can sometimes be a challenge. It may take years to accept a formal diagnosis, and it's not always easy to find the right treatment plan. Did you know that up to 75% of children and adolescents with ADHD have at least one additional mental health condition that also requires a comprehensive approach to treatment? ADHD guidelines were recently updated to reflect the need to screen for associated disorders. Be sure to talk with your child's doctor about proper screening and visit more2adhd.com for additional information. That's more2adhd.com. This message has been brought to you in partnership with ADA, ACO, and CHAD.
Welcome back to the Man of the Match with Alex Donno. You can reach out anytime on the Onside Sports Line, 888-441-4623. That's 888-441-4623.
Talking a little Miami Heat here with our good friend Giancarlo Navas from Miami Heat Beat. Good afternoon, man. And I got to ask, the Heat are coming off a disappointing loss. Now, no Jimmy, I get it. But at this point, like, coming off of a Heat loss, do you still get really disappointed? Or with all the ups and downs this year, does it even bug you after performances like that? Do you just roll through it?
Donno, I get incredibly toxic in my personal life after a Heat loss that stings. It depends on the loss. Like, I'm not like a yeller or screamer. I'll just be like very like low-key toxic to people. Like, I was texting with my friend, and I was like, how do I be as irritable as possible? There's something inside you, man. You've covered sports here for a long time, and I think a lot of people, maybe if you're a little divorced from journalism where you have to be a little more objective. I mean, at the end of the day, we still care. And I know in our cases, we want the teams to do well. As content creators, we need interest. Right. So it goes a little bit both ways.
And we're technically we're avoiding the play-in at this moment. How important is it to be a top 6 seed and not have to play in that play-in nonsense?
A couple things. So I think the part that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about is when you're not in the play-in, you get a week off.
Yeah.
Right? There's a week in between stuff.
Great
and I
point.
think this team, especially considering Dragic, who's going to need the rest, Iguodala, who looks like he desperately needs some rest, Dedmon, who's been getting a lot of run lately, Jimmy especially, Bam, who has, I remember he had knee tendonitis, right? That doesn't just go away. And you see him grimacing on the court all the time, right? Like, he's still amazing, and he's still Bam, and he's still posterizing guys, but I mean, there's a lot of grimacing going on. So that week off is, for me, one of the most important parts. Number two,
you want Eric Spoelstra is the best coach in the NBA right now, right? Or arguably top 2 or 3.
Mm-hmm.
And you want to give that guy a week to prepare. And when they know, right, when you're in 6 and above, your spot's locked in. You know who you're going to play. So you give this coaching staff, that coach, Jimmy Butler, Bam, Dragic, these high IQ guys, Ariza, a week to prepare. I like that for them. And they get a much-needed practice time that they haven't had all season to reintegrate guys like Oladipo and even guys that have played a lot recently that are new, Dedmon, Ariza, right? Like, they only have 2 lineups this season, Donno, that have played over 100 minutes, right? So even divorced from the ideas of, we'll play in, risk, you don't want to play the top seeds, favorable matchup, blah, blah, blah. There's, like, other factors that's really important for them to get to that 6 and above.
That's a really good point. We've been talking a lot on this station, not just my show, about Bam. I thought you brought up something, an interesting angle there with the tendonitis and the grimacing, because he's been taking a lot of flack around town, after last night, 4 for 10, 11 points in Jimmy's absence. Or, people want to see more aggression. They want to see him really take over. Do you think that's a mental thing for him, or do you think at least part of last night has to do with the pain?
I mean, that's hard to say, right? I mean, like, there are days that he's looked in pain that he looks better. I do think that it's hard to tell because we're not there and we're not him. What I will say is that their offense was good enough to win yesterday. They had like a 117 offensive rating for the game, which is well above their season average. Their offense is really stinky, and that's good enough for them to win on any given night. I think defensively, listen, I know Luka did what Luka did, but I thought Bam, especially in the first half, did a great job defending him. You could see Cooper Moorhead tweeting out clips, a lot of people tweeting out clips of Bam's amazing defense. And Luka just hit shots, man. I mean, that's a guy that is one of Zach Lowe, I think, put it best. You can't give that guy the same look twice because he will solve it instantly. He's a genius. So, defensively, I thought he did as well as you can do against a guy that's that special. And on offense, I thought the team did enough to win, right? I don't really think that they lost because he wasn't aggressive enough. I don't think that Bam's aggression would have helped in any way them kind of containing Tim Hardaway Jr. and Luka, right? Like I think that's a little more Jimmy not being there. Poor Duncan and Nunn were tasked with kind of containing Tim Hardaway. And I thought Duncan did a pretty good job, like, in the aggregate. I mean, it was just too easy for Timmy Jr., and that's where Jimmy comes in, right? You put him at the nail. He's a really good help defender. You kind of put him on the ball in that scenario. You put a little more size on a guy that was just shooting over Duncan, who was just kind of getting to his spots a lot easier. That's where you miss Jimmy, right? Not even offensively. You miss him defensively. And I know that we could say that second quarter where, I mean, that happens even when Jimmy's here. Jimmy's been part of those droughts on offense. That's not a Bam-specific thing. Yeah, you want him to maybe take the game by the horns a little bit at that point. But I think in particular with that game, it's a bit of a moot point. I think that falls on the defense and some of the other things.
Yeah, Jimmy had an interesting exchange with Ira a couple days ago on Zoom, and I with Ira asking him about the tough stretch left this season, and that included the Dallas game that the Heat did lose last night. That includes 2 massive road games in Boston on the 9th and the 11th, home against Philly, at Milwaukee May 16th. And of course, Jimmy, with a big grin on his face, kind of dismissed it and said, that's a challenge for you. But, I mean, it is a challenge because these games that I mentioned, that's going to decide the fate of the Heat. Like, what do you make of this stretch coming up?
First off, let me say something. Ira's sense of humor is incredible. Like, shout out to Ira. Ira made that clip. That clip went a little viral. Ira made that clip at the end. Shout out to Ira for having a good sense of humor. That was great. I've been in the locker room with Ira before, and he's a ton of fun. So, I get why Jimmy thinks that. I'm sure that some of it's a little bit of posturing. But listen, I think more than anything, the lasting image. I think there are 2 lasting images for me of that finals run. It's obviously the famous Jimmy picture of him leaning over, right? That famous picture of how exhausted and how he left everything on the court against LeBron. And the second one was him scoring over the defensive player and two-time MVP and then screaming into the heavens, he can't bleep and guard me. Right? That's Jimmy Butler doing that to the defensive player, the reigning defensive player of the year, and the two-time freaking MVP, the overwhelming number one seed, did that with this bravado and confidence that I will never forget for the rest of my life. One of the coolest things I've ever seen on a basketball court. So, I mean, he's going to be around. He's going to be confident. He's going to think that that's fine. Milwaukee might not even play their guys.
That's
Milwaukee
true.
might be locked into 2. Philly is up, a bit against Brooklyn right now. They might lock themselves into 1, and Philly might rest their players against the Heat. So in reality, I mean, the games that I had circled going in were, okay, that Mavs game, that's going to be because the Mavs are fighting for their lives to get out of the play-in and to get themselves in good seating position in the West, and they're good. And they're going to be rolling because their schedule's been pretty easy. And those 2 Boston games, right? That's the season right there, because the games against Milwaukee and Philly, I have a feeling, especially Donno in a COVID season, where it's been brutal. Mm-hmm. It's been brutal, and you just don't want guys to get hurt. I mean, if they're going to lock in, and it's just I feel pretty good that they might not play their starters, especially Milwaukee that's had like pretty good continuity. I know that PJ Tucker hasn't played a lot for them, but that in general they've had they've been pretty good. Philly, we know them. They've been together for a while. A couple changes, but that's more on the fringe stuff. I think if it was a team like Brooklyn, I think it'd be a little different because you want to give Harden, Kyrie, and Durant some reps together. But it's not. So it's a bit, obviously they could play their players and this is all moot. But I think there's a good chance that either both those teams or one of them rest their guys. And listen, you just went into Boston last season in the bubble and you kicked their ass. You never trailed in that series. You went in and you won those first 2 games. I'm not saying they have to do that again, but I mean Boston's not particularly threatening to anybody right now, and those are going to be like the biggest games of the season. I mean, there's no question.
Got to ask your perspective on something because I see this a lot, and somebody brought this into our YouTube chat earlier, basically saying, hey, the Heat are a fraud because you see them struggling this year and last year, which wasn't the exact same team, by the way, but yeah, a similar team last year that, cut through the bubble like a knife through butter, and now they're struggling this year. So people calling this a fraudulent team or like that they were only good in the bubble. I mean, I disagree with that because every season is different, and I'm not going to take away from the run that they had last year because they're struggling this year. And it wasn't the same. I mean, Jay Crowder was a big part of it last year. Tyler Hero was so much better and so much more consistent last year. Goran Dragic, up until the final, of course, was so much better and so much healthier up to that point. So does what's happening this year change your opinion on what they accomplished last year?
I feel I understand why people default to that, right? Because it's easy. Okay, well, they made the finals last year. They were about 10 games over 500, and this year they're kind of, they're struggling. And I'd say, well, their problems are completely different because last year they had a top 7 offense, and the offense was never in question. They were doing whatever they wanted on offense. Anything that they wanted, any look that they wanted, they were getting. Goran was flying to the rim. Jimmy was playing in space. Duncan and Tyler and even Jay when he got – I mean, even before Jay Crowder got here, I mean, their offense was top 7. And then Jay got here and was shooting 5% from 3, right? Ariza's at 35%. Put that into perspective. So they don't have the gun shooting this year that they did last year. And obviously that's going to hurt your offense. They don't have anybody to pressure the rim outside of Jimmy. Now, Goran showed a little bit of